to the 1% podcast, my love. So I've been following Hayley. I've been following you for a while now. And this is quite nice because we've never actually spoke properly.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I can just pick your brain with everything. But just kind of just run anyone through. Who's Hayley? Who are you?
So my name is Hayley Irwin. I am an online coach and personal trainer. And I got here through a bit of a complex one, actually. So until the age of about 19, I hated the gym. I hated fitness. Never understood why people liked it. I was always the kid that bunked off PE, all of that sort of stuff. And do you know what? I was just fed up of feeling like crap the entire time, to be honest. I went to uni, obviously just drunk like a fish, and was like, I can't do this anymore. So in the first summer between end of first year, start of second year, I bought a guide, got into the gym, and I'd always said growing up, I want to help people. I want to be an impact, a positive impact on someone's life. And previously I'd only ever been academic. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be that teacher that everyone remembers, all of that sort of stuff. So I started my training for that. And honestly, within about a month of getting into the gym, I was like, I want to be a personal trainer, but I didn't want to be that absolute bellend that was been to the gym for a month, gonna do a personal training course, all of that sort of stuff. So I sort of kept it stum for about a year. And then in my final year of uni, I was like, you know what, I really want to do this. So I used my student loan to pay for my personal training course, and did it alongside uni. And then when I graduated, I deferred my teacher training for a year, said to my parents, give me a year to make this work. And I did, and the rest is history. So yeah.
Yeah, no, because I've like we said a little bit before, I followed you for a while now, and it's quite nice to see. I've seen you kind of I started following you, I think, when you were in prep, actually. So with your bikini prep, and then it's nice to see how your life has changed quite a lot, or you've become very self-aware. You've become even things like your coffee mornings and things like that. That, I think that's quite a famous thing for you. And generally, I read some of those things and I'm like, holy shit, you're very switched on, very self-aware, very switched on. What's kind of you've had a lot going, but kind of what's the fitness industry taught you in that sense as well? Because you've changed a lot in the last year, I'd say.
Do you know what? I think I've changed a lot in the last year, but even more so over the last 4 years. So I'm a very all or nothing person, which I think you will find with most bodybuilders. And so when I first got into the gym, I was like, this is amazing stress release. I can use this all the time. And when everything else in my life is out of my control, this is the one thing that I can control. And I just took it to the extreme. After about a year of doing so, I got officially diagnosed with an eating disorder, and had to sort of start battling that. And I'd said that I was ready to recover. I realized there was a problem, but for about 6 months, I didn't do anything about that. And it's because I wasn't self-aware, because I didn't know enough about what I was doing. So I spent time working on myself and finding out who I was. I'd always had a really low self-confidence, which is part of the reason why I got into the gym in the first place, right? Like everyone, I just wanted to look good. And so I was like, I only have an aesthetic drive, but my actual mindset behind it is still really bad, to the point where my mum was like, why are you still smoking? And you're going to the gym, you're being healthy, you're smoking, what are you doing? And I was like, smoking doesn't affect how I look. So I just didn't care about what was going on inside. So I spent some time reading self-development books, listening to self-development podcasts, and actually realizing how much potential I had, and that I was limiting myself because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I was worthy of it. So yeah, I spent a lot of time working on that so that I did become that person that knew a lot about what was going on in my head and why I was thinking that way. So yeah, I think the fitness industry really taught me that if you aren't self-aware, it will swallow you up completely.
Do you think it's I've had kind of the same sort of thing as you, probably over the last few months, what gives me fulfillment? What is that thing that I love fitness, but sometimes I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this? What is that sort of thing? And I found over the last couple of months that I was like, something wasn't fulfilling in my life. And have you found that the fitness industry's kind of done the negative and the positive for you in that sense? Because I feel like fitness was the reason that I actually got anxiety and things like that. And now that it's become your cure as well, have you found, like, because obviously as a female in the industry as well, I spoke to quite a lot of girls and things like that. And obviously there's so much that goes on. Like, bikini thing is a fashionable thing now. Like, I just want to do a bikini event. I'm like, do you though? Like, do you generally know how it's incredible? If you want to do it, I highly recommend anyone to do it. But why do you want to do it, sort of thing? How have you found kind of the industry for you in that sense?
Yeah, that's a really good thing. When it comes to anxiety, prior to fitness, I did have like moderate kind of social anxiety. Not directly before I started, but when I was about 18, I had really bad anxiety, and to the point where I'd be at a party and I'd try and be like, right, I can do this, I can go. And ring my mum, be like, I need you to come pick me up now. Like, I can't be in this environment. But I had no awareness of food beforehand. And that's what the fitness industry changed, because I often say, you know what, like, I'm so grateful for the knowledge I have on food. But there are some times I would love to eat a piece of fucking cake without thinking, oh my God, this how many fat, carbs, calories, all of that sort of stuff is in it. And I think, like, I am better now. I think taking a year away from prep has allowed me to have a much more of a normal life, where my life isn't food centric. Because at the end of the day, I had an eating disorder for about 3 years. And then I went straight into 3 back-to-back years of competing. So, and I do not think that competing gives you an eating disorder. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But if you have prior, like, it essentially is a way that you can control your eating disorder. And that's definitely how I got into it.
So it was
So I think,
I was going to say, for you, it's like putting a plaster over that wound, sort of thing, really.
100% it was.
Yeah.
The reason that I started competing, and I will hold my hands up and admit this, was because I needed an excuse to stay lean or get lean. During my recovery, I'd got to the, like, a little bit of being fluffy. Looking back, I wasn't fluffy, but at the time I was like, oh my God, I need to lean down. But if I'm not competing, I've got no excuse to do that. But if I'm competing, when my family question me, I can just say, look, I'm competing. This is what my coach told me to do. Like, it's cool. Don't worry. I'm doing this for a purpose. But I'd actually gone to a coach and asked him to prep me. And he said, like, you need a year of growth. And instead of taking that and been like, cool, right, I love this sport, I'm going to do it for the sport, I just found a coach that would take me. So I just went and did it then. And I had nowhere near the muscle mass. Like, arguably, I don't even have it now. Like, there's always more muscle to acquire, right? But yeah, I think obviously going from an eating disorder to competing, my whole life has been so focused around the gym. And like you say, anxiety, if you can't train, like, oh, like when this first lockdown happened, like, I think I even mentioned it to you, didn't I? Like, on Instagram direct messages, like, I just lost my head completely. I was like, I don't, my life and my identity, especially as a fitness professional, like, your work is the gym, your hobby is the gym. And without that, like, what's my identity? I had a real identity crisis. So yeah, I think that in terms of, like, going back to what you were saying, I think fitness hasn't given me anxiety, but it's what my anxiety now manifests in.
Yeah, no, 100%. If you don't, so if you're happy with it, like, what's with your eating disorder, what was it in a sense? Like, what was it, like, overeating, like starving yourself? Like, what was the diagnosis in a sense? Because go on.
So it was orthorexia, which is essentially a sort of, it's over exercising, under eating, and like an obsession with, like, clean food. So I would essentially, I do about 15,000 steps a day, 45-minute spin class, and a weight session on about 1,400 calories maximum. Most of the time it's about 1,200, but 1,400 was like my absolute maximum. So yeah, that's where it sort of started. And then it just spiraled downhill. Obviously at first everyone was like, oh my God, you look great. Like, I've never obviously seen you in shape. And then I was at uni at the time. And I remember, obviously, I was only seeing my parents like every 3 months. And I came back one day and they were like, what the hell has happened to you? Because
Yeah.
in the space of 3 months I'd lost like, you know, like almost 2 stone, and they were just like, and I didn't massively have 2 stone to lose at this point. So, and obviously with like very little muscle mass, I just kind of looked small. I didn't look strong or anything like that. So yeah, that's where my eating disorder sort of manifested and started essentially.
And how did you, obviously did you, when you got it diagnosed, was that from a professional sort of thing, or like, I'm guessing so? And then
Yeah, so we went to the doctors, and that's what he sort of said to me, like made me talk about like using my fitness pal, how I was thinking, how I was feeling, all of that sort of stuff. I mean, he was absolutely useless in what he suggested, and they just put me on like a waiting list for a nutritionist.
I'm so glad you said that about doctors at the moment.
honestly, do you know what, my mum actually works in the NHS, and every time she's like, well, what would you want them to do? And I'm like, not whatever they do. Like, they're just so, like, he said to me, he was like, oh, so you're using my fitness pal? I was like, yeah. He's like, great app that, isn't it? I lost like 2 stone on that myf. And I was like, sorry, we're not in a weight loss competition here. It was just bizarre. I was like, yeah.
No, because I was just like, obviously everyone's getting the COVID jab, right? So I had a couple of clients got really ill, and they just said like the doctor gave them advice. One of it was like carb loading. The next day it was like, don't eat carbs. And the next day it was literally like, it all revolved around carbs, of course, right? Your things like that. But I was like, why would you die? Like, someone's ill, just carb load whilst you sit on the sofa. I'm like, what is going on with the world? I'm just like, don't get me wrong, doctors, like if I need a new heart, go ahead, sort me out. That's absolutely fine. But sometimes, like, stick to your job. Like, you would be the first person to, if someone comes in, I broke my hip, my knee's dislocated in 67 places. What do I do? I'm like, oh, fucking hell, like, go see an osteopath sort of thing. Like, push them onto someone else. And it's one of those things that just fucking gets to you. You're just like, especially when someone's coming in with eating disorders and things like that. I'm like, this is a mental thing. It's nothing to do with all that sort of stuff. Like, what's going in your head. So obviously, how did you? Because I'm guessing then you kind of like got better yourself, really.
Yes, I think that's a really good point that you made there, and I think it's something that everyone needs to sort of realize, is that an eating disorder is very rarely about food and about your body. It's actually origins in your mind. The origin is from your mind, and it manifests in your body. So yeah, I actually enlisted the help of an online coach myself, because I was just like, I can't wait. I think the waiting list for the nutritionist was about 3 months. And by this point, I was very clued up on what a nutritionist did with eating disorder patients, i.e. give them 3,000 calories minimum. Yeah. You're not allowed to exercise, all of that sort of stuff, which would have just driven me crazy. So I went to an online coach, and I just explained my problem, explained like where I was going wrong, all of that sort of thing, said, can you help me? They said yes. And for me, it had to be someone that was in the fitness industry who understood my desire and my passion to train. I couldn't go to someone who was just like, right, you need to stop training and like bump me up your calories. Like, I needed to be reverse dieted. I needed cardio to be like decreased gradually, because from a mental standpoint, if it had just been right, no moving, all eating, I would never have done it, because my head would have just gone. Yeah. So I recognized that I couldn't do it on my own. I recognized I wasn't strong enough for that yet. But I needed someone that I trusted who could get me somewhere. And I always had the goal at this point of being a bikini competitor. Prior to even like contracting an eating disorder, however you want to say it, I'd always admired competitors, and I'd always said that I wanted to do it. So I used that as my motivation, being like, look, if I look like this, I cannot be a bikini competitor. So yeah, that was sort of like how I did it. I did then, after about a year, maybe 18 months, I took like 5 months off, because I was like, right, okay, I've got to a point where I'm weight restored. And now I need to prove to myself that I can actually do this on my own, and not just because someone's telling me to do it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, and then I sort of like proved to myself that I could continue to gain weight. I could continue to do everything I needed to do, whilst I wasn't being told to do it. And obviously there were ups and downs and all of that sort of stuff. And I definitely had my fair shares of bad days, but I proved to myself that I could do it and I was strong enough. And that's when I really started working on self-development, because I realized that if I was going to continue this, it wasn't just because I didn't want to disappoint a coach. I needed to realize how worthy and how powerful I was as a human. And so, yeah, I just put all of my energy into focusing on like what I was able to do, switching my mindset from what I was losing, like, and thinking, oh my God, I'm letting go of control of my eating, and just putting that control and that emphasis and that energy into something else, instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm losing lines. Okay, I'm gaining life. I'm gaining memories. I'm much more sociable, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's how it sort of like came about.
I think you nailed that as well, because people come to you for exactly the same reasons, for a physical result. And that's absolutely great. That's absolutely fine. If you want to look and feel better, that's going to make you mentally feel better. But what people miss is the mental improvements that people make. It's like 2 weeks ago, you weren't thinking about nutrition like this. You don't even sound like the same person. Like when you say, oh, I've had a bad day. Okay, cool. I'm going to sort this and this out. Like, you wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago. So actually, and it's almost like you've done exactly the same thing yourself. You've gone through that self-awareness and that journey as well.
That's why I decided that I wanted to be an online coach, actually, because why I decided this while I was still at uni. I was still like going through my degree. I was just like, I've seen the positive impact that a coach can have on someone's life, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And I mean, I love it when someone gets the confidence to really, open up and get a physique transformation and dedicate their mindset and their body and all of that sort of stuff. But for me, my focus will always be on the mindset and the mentality. I obviously I get proud, and I get, I'm fulfilled when I see someone change physically, but it doesn't do it for me. It's the mental side of things that I focus on. And that's why I've done so many like other courses. Like I've done my life coaching diploma. I'm doing my CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy diploma at the moment. Like, I'm not just someone who preaches, oh, I am a mindset coach. Like, I do it because it's what I'm so passionate about. I'm actually considering going back to uni to study psychology. I mean, I did actually do some psychology in my uni degree, but obviously my degree is not in psychology, because that's what fulfills me completely.
What is your degree?
English literature.
Oh, is it? Cool.
Yeah.
You can just do all my stuff for me. I'm the worst dyslexic in the world, so I'll just say
yeah, I love writing.
No, and I think you nailed it. It's like anyone can achieve generally anything in life, anything, whether that is you want to be an Olympic athlete, whatever that is, but all starts down to that mindset and that belief, because not enough people believe in themselves. And do you know what? I guarantee you probably always say, like, so you have days you're like, I just like, you can achieve this, but some days you're like, how? And you just doubt yourself. But
and self-doubt, at the end of the day, self-doubt, it kills more dreams than lack of ability ever has. It's us like holding ourselves back and limiting ourselves that is the issue. It's not our lack of ability. And you've heard so many people say, like, believe you can and you're already halfway there. And I think that is literally so true, because you get a dopamine rush every time that you prove yourself right? So if you are telling yourself that you can't do something, that you can't stick to your diet, that you can't transform your mind, whatever your goal is, your body will work towards getting that dopamine rush, even though it's self-sabotaging. Because then the second that you fall off the bandwagon, so to speak, you can say, see, I told you I was right. See, I told you I was right.
Yeah.
But the more that we start to say, you know what, I can do that. I can change my body. That's what we need to focus on, because then we go, see, I told you I could do that.
Yeah.
But it seems like our society at the moment is so pessimistic. We're so much more comfortable being in the company of someone who puts themselves down than someone who says, I'm so great, I could do this. When someone does that, we feel uncomfortable and we feel like, oh my God, you're so arrogant. But no, like, that is what we need to do. And we need to be in the company of people who inspire you to be that person, because the more you tell yourself you can't do it, like I say, the more your brain and your body is going to prove yourself right. So at least, channel your thoughts into positivity and progress.
Yeah. And you literally said it. You changed 2 words around. I can and I can't, or it's hard, I will, and things like that. You're just changing the way that you talk to yourself. Things like that. I did the same thing. So I've been seeing like a I guess like a mental performance coach, like a life coach and sort of thing. And I did this list. It was like, oh, so tell me the goals that you don't want to achieve and things like that. And that was a really interesting topic. So it could be just anything from relationships, where do you want to live, things like that. Where don't I want to be in the future, sort of things. And then it was like, write down the things that you want from life. And really, so you have that big divide. So then straight away, you've built an image that you don't want, you can step away from. And then the other one, you're like, fuck, I want that life. And you planned it out top to bottom in literally like 10 sentences. And it is just that, like, you nailed it saying like the society, this is the one thing that I found. It's like, everyone's entitled. Everyone feels like they should be achieving this or have success here and things like that. But yet you're not giving yourself permission to even do that.
No. You just say that everyone else is lucky. You're just lucky, that's why they've got that. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? The only reason you're calling them lucky is because you're giving yourself an excuse as to why you're not there.
Yeah.
Not because you genuinely think that it just landed on their lap. It's because you're like, right, I just could never do that. I could never have that discipline. I could never have that commitment.
Yeah.
But that's it. I think, like you say, it's so important the way you talk to yourself. And I always say, like, sometimes it's a bit of a gradual phase, right? You might start saying, I will do this, instead of I can't do it. You'll be like, I will do it. And, you know, that is progress to some extent, but it's baby steps, because you're still putting that thing of, I will do it in the future, not I am that. Yeah. So, I will behave like this, not I behave like this.
Yes. And even from this, like, I don't expect anyone to listen to this and think, fuck me, tomorrow I need to be like the most, like, turn my life around. I have to believe in myself 100%, because there's days that you won't, and that's absolutely fine. But you know, deep down that you still have that fire in your belly. You still believe, like, deep down you can, even on the worst days ever. And that's generally what it comes down to. It's very hard it's a hard thing to teach as well. But you can't teach someone to believe in themselves. You can give people the tools and everything like that too. But a lot of this stuff, it's the same as it is coaching in a sense. Like, we give them all the tools, all the support, everything like that. But you do have to implement this. You are the only person, as cliche as it is, you are the only person that can control your life. That's it. If you don't like the people in your life, separate yourself. Family's a hard one. It's like, I love my sister, for example, but I'm like, well, she's my sister for life, sort of thing, right? So, but she says some negative things or whatever it is. So how do you distance yourself? You're like, well, instead of seeing her every week, see her every 2 weeks. Things like that. It's a very hard thing to do, but it is just like you say, it is that 1%. It is those one step forward every day. And it could just be like, you're very big on like journaling and stuff, right? As well? Yeah. 100%. So run me through, like, because everyone journals. I think people think like journaling, they're like, I need to get a fucking A4 thing like this. And I need to, so what do you do? What's your journaling kind of structure? What works for you?
So I tried for so long to journal, and I could just never get into the rhythm of it. And I think it's because I told myself I had to do it every day. I was like, I need to do this every day. And then obviously I'd miss one day and be like, oh, I've messed it up now. But I started off getting a guided journal. So I think it was called like 365 Days of Gratitude, where it basically like gives you 3 boxes, and it says sort of like, what are you thankful for today? What do you want to remember about today? What made you smile today? All of that sort of stuff. And then as I got comfortable with the process of it, I got a bullet journal, which is, for those who don't know, it's not even lines, it's just like blocks, dots, which are sort of make up squares. So it's a bit more free thinking. And I do write down like whatever is on my mind. I tend to personally start my day with it. I know a lot of people do it at the end of the day to sort of reflect and consolidate, etc. But I find starting my day with that is really important. I always preach to my clients that you need to start your day in a way that's proactive instead of reactive, which is why I stress not going on social media, not even listening or reading the news first thing in the morning. Because if you start your day answering emails, reading the news, scrolling social media, you instantly have a reaction to everything you see. So you are answering from the get-go to other people and other people's opinions and what other people are doing. But actually, if you start your day, so for example, journaling, or like I write down my morning coffee thoughts and things like that. It's starting your day thinking about what's going on in your head. What do you want to achieve out of today? How are you feeling? And so you start your day in a position of power, essentially. So you're reinforcing that your day is going to be orchestrated by you and not answering to everyone else. So I think that's really important for me, because I am a self-confessed a bit of a control freak. I need to be the one that knows what's going on and knows what I'm doing. And so if I start my day scrolling Instagram and all of a sudden everyone else is dictating how I'm feeling that day, that's where I lose my head.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing myself to what other people are doing and what other people are thinking, and I'm having reactions to, you know, maybe getting annoyed at something dumb shit that someone said on Instagram. But actually, like I said, if I start my day filling my own cup up first, I've got a hell of a lot more to give to other people.
I could literally, I'll hang up the phone now. That's sick. Because you know what's really annoying? Because like, this is kind of the shit that I've been trying to sort. I've been writing at the end of the day. But the fact that you said that, I'm like, I'm fucking doing that tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
that's sick. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, when
I
you
just
just like, that awkward moment when someone says something, you're like, oh, how do you know everything about me? Like,
yeah, literally it is. It's just for me, like I said, for some people, like for those who struggle to sleep, etc., add in your evening journaling session, write down everything that's on your mind so that you can calm before you actually try and get to sleep. 100%. But for me, I need to start my day doing me, essentially.
yeah. Okay, so anyone that just heard that, like, rewind 2-3 minutes and just skip everything else we say for the rest of this. Just replay that last 3 minutes and guarantee you're set for life. But no, that is like, stuff like that is, do you know what, it's only because I felt exactly like the things you just said then. It's like, and it's the same thing we said before we jumped onto this. Like, online coaching is great, but everything's very much running itself and things like that. So all I do is coach, and I feel like, well, what do I do with the rest of my day? I'm the same as you. I'm like, I need to know what I'm doing every minute of it, sort of every day. I know that's probably, we can both say it's unhealthy, but then I'm like, well, that's kind of us. And I don't think that'll ever change, sort of thing. We'll have flexibility, but that's just how we like to live our lives. And I think having control, there's nothing wrong with that. But just being, for you, I think you're very self-aware. Like if someone says, let's go out or let's do something, you'll be like, yeah, of course. For me, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I'm still at that stage. Like, okay, can I do that? Because I need to do this and this and this. But no, that's definitely something that hit home hard. So no, I actually, yeah, really appreciate that. No, it's good. I love that. Thank you.
I always used to struggle with that, because if something was going to mess up my routine, then I'd be like, I can't do that. I need at least a week's notice before I do anything. But I always like stress to my clients, your routine, your habits, and your inner strength is only as strong as your ability to adapt it. If you can't, you know, you might be like, I've got the best morning routine in the world, I do this, this, and this. But if something like stops you doing one thing and that messes up the rest of your day, that's nothing to be proud of. No. So like I said, your routine is only as important. If anyone could see Brandon's face now. But yeah, your routine is only as strong as your ability to adapt it. You need to be able to work on having a plan B and not just a plan A, because life happens, shit gets in the way. And especially as we get older and potentially like start families and all of that sort of stuff, life is so unpredictable. And you need to know how to function on so many more levels than just answering to you and what you need, because it's not always going to be like that.
Yeah. No, do you know what? It's so like, so I started dating, and like, you know, it's that awkward moment when you're kind of like, right, they stay over, but I'm like, oh, fucking morning routine. And you're like, shit, like, what do you do? Do you get up and do you do stuff? Like, do I get water? Do I not get water? Like, and things like that. It's like, I wasn't flexible. I wasn't flexible at all. And this is, it comes down to, is actually having that flexibility in your life. As many might see that as a weak kind of thing. That is, like you say, that is your superpower. Because you can adapt to anything that gets thrown at you, and you can continue to stay on track. So when people fall off that wagon, it's potentially because things have been too regimented. Yeah. So actually, when you have that flexibility involved, you're like, well, cool, I can just sort this out tomorrow. I can do this today, things like that. Dun, dun, dun. Cool, let's have a good time. Yeah. And that is something that I'm jealous of, in a sense, and something that I 100% need to work on as well. Like,
I think everyone feels, and again, I think in this world where, you know, the grind never stops and like no days off and all of that sort of stuff, I think flexibility is deemed to be such a weakness. Everyone's like, oh no, you need to be 100% all of the time and do this, this, and this. But as I said, it's not practical. And going back to what you said about dating, because that is so true. Honestly, I remember I was saying to my friend, I was like, this was like maybe about 6 months ago, I was like, I don't want him to stay over midweek, because Monday to Friday, if my routine gets thrown off on a Wednesday, I'm screwed for the rest of the week. Yeah. But I think like more recently, I started dating someone and I was like, this is what I do in the morning. I'm going to do this whether you're whether you're here or not. And you can join in if you want. Like, you're more than like, I'm more than happy to make you a coffee and you can read your book or whatever. And I was lucky because he's so supportive of what I do. So he would make my coffee and leave me to journal in bed. Like, that would be like my thing. But I think, like I said, there's a fine balance between it, I think, which is that elusive word, right? That, you know, what is balance? But I think, yes, you've got to be able to be flexible with what you do. And, you know, maybe you're going to get to bed a bit later, or you're going to wake up a bit later or whatever than maybe you would normally. But you've also got to have boundaries in place, because at the end of the day, you will never find your people if you're not showing up as your authentic self. If you're showing up to this guy or girl or whoever saying, you know, oh, I can wake up and eat croissants in bed, like, you know, whatever, and just go with the flow all day, there's going to get to a point where you go, actually, this is me. I eat oats and protein for breakfast. I journal. I do 20 minutes of yoga, and then I have a cold shower. Like, they're going to be like, who the hell are you? This isn't the person I dated. Whereas if you show up as your friend, like yourself, you know, you're going to attract those people, be it friends, be it romantic, be it family people, whoever, who appreciate who you are and want you in your life. Want you in their life, sorry, for that person. So I do think, like I said, there's a balance between, be flexible, but also do what makes you feel good and do it often.
Like, I think just, again, like, fucking, you're on it. And it is and it is just that thing of like, you're going to have to live with yourself the rest of your life. Like, if you're dating someone, whatever that may be, that it could be a temporary thing, sort of thing. And it being I think as well, being straight up with people is be like, this is me. You either like me or you don't. Like, you can say it however you want. Is absolutely fine, because like you say, it's clearly working. It's like, cool, and then it's absolutely fine. And half the time you'd rather that instead of getting all these mixed messages and things like that. At least you know, right? If you've got new housemates, you're like, you fucking do the washing up, I do the drying. Boom, boom, boom. Are we good with that? Cool. And we know where we stand, sort of thing. And it's the same thing. It's like, and that's going to make you feel better as well. And this can come on to anyone. Like, this could be like when you post on social media and things like that. Post what you want to post. Don't post because it's trendy. Don't post because you think it will work and get clients, whatever it is, or bring in more money. Post how you feel and what you want to do.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit if it doesn't work?
How you think is going to help people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and post how it's going to help yourself. If it's going to post, if you're posting something that you need to hear, so be it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to read it 3 or 4 times. Like, just get in touch with what you want to do. And like you said, a lot of the time in reality, dating is temporary. So don't mess up what you know and what makes you feel good, because otherwise you're going to be left in a crap routine with a person that you formed a new routine around that has now disappeared. Whereas actually, if you've got your routine and you've got your purpose, then that person's going to either fit into your life and better it, or they're not. But at the end of the day, you've still got you've still got your routine, you've still got your purpose, irrespective of whether they're there or not. So you're going to be a lot better off in your own headspace if you are putting yourself first.
No, yes. Yeah, you're fucking absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. I can't even add to that, so it's fine. But no, it is. I think as well, when you kind of start, like, I feel like because I think me and you kind of been on the same page. We've been single for a period of time and we started dating, right? So it is that awkward thing. You're like, fuck, I forgot how to do this, sort of thing. And how does it work and things like that. And when emotions get into any situation, having that self-awareness to back you is so key. Because anyone's done it. We've all been in relationships where we look back and like, why the fuck did I do that for that person? Or like, or you notice you kept going out your way for someone and they never did it back to you, sort of thing. So as soon as you start to have that self-awareness and you can kind of take a step back out of the situation and be like, why am I changing what I'm doing to fit someone else and to bring someone else? Because all it is like, oh, you have that lust and things like that. And you're like, I want to please someone, and those emotions start to kick in. But to be very aware of those emotions it's hard, like you say as well. Like,
I think that's why it's so important. Like, I know a lot of people say, you know, make yourself happy before you make someone else happy. And I don't necessarily think you have to be in an amazing mindset to meet someone. I understand that you can meet someone and better yourself, etc. But I feel like if you are dating when you're in a bad headspace, you're just putting yourself on a clearance shelf. You're like devaluing yourself, and you're just like, you're going to just go home with whatever takes you, right? Because you want to feel wanted, and if that's cheap, that's cheap. Like, so I do think it's so important to know what you want and what you stand for. And like I said, like we've said, have a good morning routine, have a good purpose in life, because then you won't settle, and then you won't find yourself in relationships that don't serve you. Because if you're not in a good headspace, you're going to be looking for someone to fill that void. Whereas actually, if you're already in a good place, someone's going to add to that. And if they don't stay, then you're still in that space because you're still going on your track. But if you've changed yourself, or if you've settled for something, then you've derailed yourself, and then you've been left off the rails. And then you're like, where do I go from here?
Yes.
So I think, like I said, it's not necessary to be in like an amazing headspace all of the time, but 9 times out of 10, I really think it is. You need to know yourself before you know who you are in relation to other people.
Yeah, and that's it. I think especially this year as well, we can all say we probably felt lonelier than ever before.
100%.
So actually what you're doing is you're listening to that loneliness, that emotion, and you're reaching out to people that don't actually suit your lifestyle, bring you value. You're reaching out to them because you are lonely. But if you have that self-awareness, be like, this person, like red flags, like why am I talking to this person? Why am I bringing them into my life? It's going to be a massive thing. And I feel for like everyone this year, because it has been like, we said it before. It's like, I love coaching online, but I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I need humans around me. Like, and you said it as well. Like
we take it for granted. Like, I am hands down the most unsociable person in the world. I love my own company. I do my own thing, but I miss human contact. And if I miss it, then Jesus Christ, I don't know how other people are feeling, because that is hard, honestly. And I think, like I said, we take it for granted because we're so used to being in a society that is always busy, always grinding, never stopping, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, and I think, like I said, this year, a lot of people may well have got into relationships where they've settled because they've just been like, you'll do for now, you'll keep me company, you'll keep my mind busy, all of that sort of stuff. And in a world where we've had very little routine, we've formulated routines around people. Like, obviously we've been self-employed, we haven't had the luxury of things like furlough, but obviously for people on furlough, they've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
So so it'll be interesting to see whether certain relationships, and I hope they do, of course, but whether relationships last in the real world, because it might get to a point where, right, I'm going to go back to my routines, I'm going to go back to my old habits, and how are you actually going to fit into that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's it. How have you felt in the last year?
I had like some of the worst time of my whole entire life in the last year. So rewind to sort of January 2020 was when my mental health really started to slip. But I'm an idiot who just goes, right, my mental health isn't okay, let's work, let's pick up more clients. So I was working like 40 hours on the gym floor, had like 20 online clients. I was working 6, usually 7 days a week. Then lockdown hit, and all of a sudden I had an extra 40 hours of my time, plus training and all of that sort of stuff. So, probably more like 50 hours of my time where I was stuck at home with nothing to do. Yeah. And 20 online clients doesn't take that long out of your day or out of your week. And so all of these problems that I'd been putting to the back of my head, I suddenly had to face. And so the first sort of 3, 4, 5 months of lockdown were really hard for me. My self-worth was low. I didn't have any purpose to life. I felt I was really struggling to get up. I sought therapy, and I went on antidepressants. Nothing seemed to really be helping. I then moved up north because I was like, I just need to change my environment. There was nothing wrong with my environment, so to speak, but I just needed to get out of that. And then, to be honest, I started from step 1. I started back from, okay, how did I get over my eating disorder? Because that was like the previous lowest time of my life. Yeah. Working on my self-development. And I think one of the things that everyone does, which I just try and stress to everyone not to do, is that you do things like yoga, meditation, journaling when you're in a bad headspace. Then you get into a good headspace doing those things, and then you think you don't need them anymore. Yeah. But mental health needs as much maintenance as physical health does. You wouldn't just get the dream body like eating a certain way, working out a certain way, and then fuck it all off and expect to keep it. In the same way that you shouldn't journal, meditate, yoga, whatever gets you into a personally good headspace, and think, oh, I don't need to do anything anymore, but I'm going to stay in a really good headspace. And that's what I'd done. I'd got myself to this place, and then I'd just forgotten it and busied myself. So I just kind of thought, don't get me wrong, I didn't have, like, I knew my potential and stuff, but I just lost my way. I felt like without personal training, I didn't have a purpose. Or without the gym, I didn't have an identity. So I started from the bottom and I worked my way up. And I was like, right, I need to read self-development. I need to journal. I need to do all of these things. And it took time, and it wasn't linear. Like that I'd be good for a month, and then I'd take 5 steps back and I'd feel like I couldn't get out of bed again. But from January, I was like, right, this is it. And then from February was when, like, I completely switched, and I like threw myself back into Instagram and talking on, like, on all of that sort of stuff, which helped me be in a good headspace. And then it helped me help more people. And people were like replying to stories saying, like, thanks, really needed to hear this today. And then obviously that made me feel better. And the ball started rolling from that, in that way. And because it's a bit like muscle memory, like, because I'd been there before, I bounced back a lot quicker. So yeah, I found lockdown personally really hard. But I think this lockdown, for me, each lockdown has got better and easier for me because I've been more used to it.
Yes, and also, like you say, like you know you better now. That's
yeah.
You spent a year more trying to be like, right, let's try and get the old Hayley back, sort of thing, or bring the new one back, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to do you. So I think it's how did you find? Because honestly, I did the same thing. I did the same. You moved north, and I was about to go. I was planning on moving in February up to Manchester.
Okay.
But then obviously just stuff came up, and I was like, well, let's just move somewhere else.
I was going to ask, so how did you find lockdown? What was your decision like to move to
the first one? I was okay with. I was in denial for so long. I was like, this shit's not real. I was still PTing up until like March, and then I remember like the last day of Muscleworks, just the Friday, and then everyone was like, and then everything shut down, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to my mum's, and I just did that. And it was good because that first lockdown, there was tough days. Like, I think it was just like, are we still doing this shit sort of thing? But I think because it was new, for the first 4 weeks, we were like, what the fuck is going on? What is this? And then that was the lockdown that changed my life in a sense. That was when I didn't have any online clients before that. That's when I was just like, right, I have no money. So let's do this. Like, let's do this online malarkey. And then we went back to normal. I knew going in, I moved back to London and I shouldn't have done it. London was that place for me where I loved it whilst I was there, but going back wrecked me. And I think that's the same sort of thing. That's when my anxiety was its highest. That's when I just felt like I just wasn't me. I really wasn't. And then obviously second lockdown kicked in and I was like, I can't fucking do this. And I'll be the first to say that I thought I was quite a strong individual. Like, yeah, I can happily live on my own, like you. Like, I'm good with my own time and things like that. But I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. I was planning on going to Scotland because I messaged a couple of trainers up there. They're like, oh, we're not in lockdown. It's like, sick. I'm gonna get the train up there. This is only gonna be for a month. And then they were like, oh, wait, we might go into it. And this is when everyone was like hyping up here. And I was like, I know a few people that have gone out there now. So I have a couple of mates that have gone out there. Just fuck it. Let's go for a couple of weeks. And then I came here. The sign that was like there is that I slept for 2.5 weeks. I slept 7-8 hours every night. Didn't wake up once. And before I was like, I had insomnia from my last prep. So like 2018, I had it for like 10 months. Like I was sleeping like 3-4 hours a night. And so sleep's always that big indicator for me. So the fact that I slept here, I was like, holy shit, I'm relaxed. And that could have been the escape and things like that. And then I was like, right, like if that place does it to me, I'm fucking going there. And that was literally it. I didn't think anything of it. I came back, I loved it. So I was like, well, just fucking go there. And that was it, really. It was as simple as.
How long do you envision staying out there for?
I think anywhere you have to give time. So I'm definitely probably going to do, by the time it gets around to it, it'll probably be like 3 years, maybe. I'm in a sense for the business point of view, because the business is fully related here now. So the business is registered here now, which is good from if you are self-employed, potentially think about doing it. That's a whole different ball game, but 100% I think recommend anyone to think about it anyway. But yeah, I think who's to know? Where do you want to be next week? I'm like, well, I'd like to be here, but who knows? But we'll see. We'll just take it as it comes, really, and that's it. But I don't want a family here. I've decided that. Like, I miss the greenery. I miss the countryside. I miss walking out and just dirty wellies and then just going for a cold walk and things like that. And as silly as it sounds, it's like I miss like feeling cold. I miss feeling cold, and I miss the rain a little bit. As bizarre as that sounds, and greenery and all that sort of stuff. But I definitely don't want to be here long term. I think it's kind of like London. You do it like when you're kind of that early 20s, mid 20s, like maybe 30s. You kind of hustle, you fucking go party, you have a great time. And then you're like, let's just move outside of London a little bit. It's kind of the same sort of thing. But no, it's kind of that stepping stone that I definitely needed. And it was the same as you. I needed a change. I didn't know what the change was, but I just needed something different.
And I think it's so hard sometimes, especially in, again, a world where there's so much pressure on what we can do for other people and how we can help other people and all of that sort of stuff. Like, I felt really bad moving away because my mum, I remember, oh my God, talk about pull your heartstrings. I was like, because I had some of my best friends who live up north, and I was like, my mum said to me, I know you're moving towards your best friends, but my best friend's moving away.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, don't. And I was worried about upsetting her. And you know, she would always want what's best for me, and she'd never, ever hold me back. But I needed to do it for me, and I needed to not think about everyone else. And what was best for everyone else, and think at the end of the day, I can't help anyone else if I'm not helping myself. Because there's only so long that you can fill everyone else's cup before you've got nothing left to give, right? So I think it's so important to put yourself first in those scenarios and be like, this may be hard to move away. It may be temporary, it may be whatever, but get in touch. Again, it links back to what we were saying about get in touch with who you are and what you want, and realize that putting yourself first is not selfish. It's being self-aware. And that's what is so important to remember. Like, you need to put boundaries in place with people. You need to make people realize, and if someone doesn't respect your boundaries, then they're not people that you should have in your life. Like, people can't just expect you to be there for them, irrespective of how you feel personally. And I think there's a lot to say about that with change.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like, you don't know, something needs to change, and you know it's something to do with you. It's no one else. Like you say, like when you have that self-awareness, you're like, I need to do something to sort my own shit out. And then, but is that moving there? Is that moving? I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen, but something needs to change. Things like that. And this can apply to anything in life. It's like, I was the same sort of reason. I was working with Dan. He was coaching me for 2 years, and it just got to the stage. I'm like, there's nothing wrong, but I just need a change. Like, realistically, I know switching coach, we're not going to change jack shit, but I just need something to manipulate, to change, to take training or whatever it is to that next level sort of thing. Yeah,
100%. I completely agree with you. And it does get to that point. Like, I think when you're in a really bad headspace, you just feel the need to change anything and everything, because you just need to be like, you know what, I need everything to be different. Like, I left Josh when I was in a really bad headspace, Josh McHale, and I was like, I'm now back with him, but I was like, it was nothing personal to you. I just needed to change everything about my life, because I was like, I'm just not in a good headspace, and everything is just reminding me of that bad headspace.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's like that thing you say, it's not a selfish thing. It's literally like, you're just putting yourself first sort of thing. And I remember on the gym floor, it's only happened to me once. 2 people in one day said, "Oh, you're really arrogant." And I was like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, like, and I was like, fuck, am I? And I was like, I even had to I can't be, surely. And I was like, no, I'm just confident about talking about fitness. But if you ask me anything else, English literature, if you were like, right in front of a class on a board, I'd start fucking sweating, shaking. That's not how you spell she or something, anything. And it is just being like, there's a difference massive from confident to arrogant. And it's a very big divide as well. And that's the same sort of thing. It's like being selfish. Like, no, I'm just looking after myself. You said it as well, like the oxygen mask thing. I always think like, you put your oxygen mask first before you help someone else. You need to
And I
breathe
think
and help someone else.
a lot of the time, like you were saying about people like presuming you're arrogant because you are confident about what you talk about. I think a lot of the time, like what people say is a reflection of what's going on in their own head, right? So they're saying, "Oh my God, you're arrogant." It's because they're not confident talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So actually, they are like made to feel like, "Oh my God, I'm not good enough as I am. I'm not enough as what I am doing," and that's why they think, "Oh, you're being arrogant talking like that." It's just because they can't talk like that because they don't have the knowledge to. So it's almost their defense mechanism to put you down a peg.
Yeah.
Because they're feeling so low. So they know if they call you arrogant, you're going to be like, "Oh my God," and take a step back. And that's going to bring that power shift back to an equal playing field. And that's why I always say, like, I don't tell people to disregard everything that anyone ever says to you. I'm not saying that you need to, the second someone says, "Oh, like, have you thought about this? Like what you're doing?" I'm not saying you just like forget about them. But a lot of the time you need to take what other people say with a pinch of salt, because it is such a reflection of where they're at in their life, what's going on in their head, and all of that sort of stuff. And not everyone wants the best for you. Like, it's not a nice thing to say, but
oh no, I don't think anyone, if I'm completely honest, I think a lot of people completely opposite. Like, and it is exactly what you said. It's like, so I just finished seeing someone, and it was kind of like, and she ended it with me, and it was kind of like, there was no real, like, everything was fine. Everything was, in my opinion. And a lot of time you got to think, actually, it's where they are in their life right now. No beef at all. Absolutely lovely girl, incredible girl. But actually that was just down to potentially this isn't right for her. Vice versa. If someone says you a bullshit message saying, "Oh, this is like, you're fucking not going deep enough," or whatever it is, a shitty comment that's thrown at you, just take a step back and be like you say, it's like, why are they so angry? Like at something, or what's going on in their life to attack someone else or to bring someone else down? A lot of time, if you're like, "I haven't hurt anyone, I'm just doing me," and things like that, and then people throw in these comments, you're like, this is all you. Like, this isn't,
and we blame ourselves. Like, the second someone breaks up with us, we're like, "Oh my God, what did we do wrong?"
That's
and
it.
someone like give it broken. And it never works for me, so there must be something wrong with me. And like you say, some people just aren't ready for certain things. Some things just aren't ready for them or right for them right now. And I think obviously, like, a lot of the time, like, behind every criticism is a wish. Like, a lot of the time, for example, someone might say to you, "Oh my God, like, you give your client so much attention. Like, why do you always give your client so much attention?" That's actually because they want your attention. Or whatever. Like, it's so important to listen to what people say and not necessarily take it at face value, because you may be someone who's very self-aware and very confident in how you feel and wear your heart on your sleeve, but not everyone you encounter will be like that. So listen to what people say, and instead of just jumping on the defensive saying, "I give you attention too, it's not just my clients that are special, blah 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 blah," go, "I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry that I'm so passionate about my job. Sometimes that's something that I need to work on." And it's hard to take a step back and to answer someone's criticism with an understanding comment, because we do just get our backs up about things. But we need to think about what other people are thinking.
Yeah, I think as well, it's like, if someone, say for example, someone said that about you and your work sort of thing, like, you'd be like, well, this is this isn't going to change either. This is what I love. So I'm like, this is something that's going on with you, sort of thing, and potentially this isn't going to, whatever's going on here, like, this isn't going to work, sort of thing. Because there's certain factors. It's like, "Oh, like, you need to quit your job so we can do this." You're like, but they might absolutely love that job. I'm like, actually, no, you need to be like, you need to step out of this situation, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what we were saying about, being yourself and showing up as who you are. Because if at the beginning of a relationship, you're like skipping out or being lazy with work, maybe not getting back to clients as much, all of that sort of stuff, there's going to be a point where that shift changes and you go back to working full time, or you go back to replying to clients at 11 p.m. at night when you should be, like having a nice moment with them or whatever. And so they're going to turn around and be like, "You've changed." If you show up as yourself that entire time, then they either accept you for who you are or they don't. And if they don't, then that's on them. And you don't need, if you are comfortable with who you are and what you bring to the table, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
That's it. And like you say, it's like, we're in this world again, like we've talked about it, like where you feel like you need to have loads of friends, or you need to like have this following, or you need to be noticed and things like that. I'm like, you do understand there's 7 billion people in the world. I'm like, I don't want all those fuckers to know me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want that many friends. I don't want all that sort of stuff. Because if it comes round, you're like, shit. It's the same as like, it comes down to like finances. I'm like, being out here, I've met some very successful people and I'm like, don't fucking want it. Not a chance. No fucking way. Don't want to be that. If I don't want to be that successful on a financial level, because it seems pretty shit.
There's sacrifice and there's limits to everything. And yeah, it's like, you know, being at the top isn't all it's cracked up to be necessarily.
No. And it, like, I think the definition of success, I'll always say, is happiness. If you are happy, you've won.
Yeah.
Like, because if I turn around to anybody right now, even if it's like, even me or you, if you rated your happiness out of 10 right now, I'd be like, I'm not a 10 out of 10 at the moment. As hard as that is, I'm like, I'm generally not fully 100% happy with potentially everything that's going on or whatever it is. So when I reach 10 out of 10, I'm like, I've reached that success.
Because ultimately, if you base your success on anything else, i.e. not happiness, you will constantly be moving on to the next goal. Success isn't about, you know, getting to a certain margin or reaching a financial goal or whatever. It's being happy about it when you get there, being content with what you have. Otherwise, you'll just move on to the next thing and that'll get crossed off the list. And then you'll be striving for more and more and more, which isn't necessarily a bad mentality to have, but it gets to a point where you'll never be happy unless you take a step back and you go, right, little me 5 years ago, me 10 years ago, would have been really fucking proud of where I am now.
Yeah. And you look at it now and you're like, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and things like that. And you're like, Jesus, look how far you've come in the last, you can break it down into months. Like how, like the last 3 months, what, April? Yeah, last 3 months, really. How's the last 3 months been? Compare yourself to January to April. But like, probably a completely different person. And it's nuts. And if you kept doing that thing, that 1%, that one step forward every day, look where you're going to be in another 5 years' time. You're going to have exactly the same thoughts, but thinking about that now, you're like, holy shit, like if I have made that much progress, shit. It's like when like clients turn around to you and they're like, oh, I've lost a kilo this week. I'm like, you do understand if you keep losing a kilo every week, you'll be gone. Like, so it does have to stop eventually. Like, so actually like it is just that, but it's, again, we just come back to it. We're in that world now where we want it yesterday. And it's a hard thing to program ourselves out of thinking as well.
100%. And that's why you need to be consistent with telling yourself these things. And like part of journaling in the morning is writing daily affirmations about yourself, because you'll never get out of certain mindsets. You'll never undo a mindset that's taken you 10, 20, 30 years to make in a day. It's going to take you years to unpick that mindset and formulate new mindsets and new habits and new routines. So that's why, you know, starting your day, saying something positive about yourself, reminding yourself of your goal or your purpose or whatever it is that you want to achieve. That's what you need to be consistent with, because you'll never get there unless you keep putting those 1% into place. Yeah.
And it is, I always relate this, like same as fitness. I feel like fitness has taught me everything in life. It's like, someone could turn around, oh, Hayley, how did you build great legs and glutes and things like that? You're like, just did this for like the last 5 years. That's it. And it's the same when you say, it comes to your mindset. Like, how did you get really good at journaling? How did you become so content? I'm like, because I wasn't fucking content for 5-10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Over that time, I just built this thing that helped me out.
Yeah.
That's literally it. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. So what's kind of the mission for you going forward, hopefully going into a normal world fairly soon? So what's the plan? What's the mission for you this year?
So as we discussed previously, I want to go back to personal training. I miss the one-to-one connection 100%. So like the immediate goal is to put my focus into that. Longer term, my aim is to be a life coach and a life therapist, essentially, which is why I'm doing all of the like CBT courses and life coaching courses, counseling courses, etc., because that's where my passion lies. And there's going to get to a point where people don't want to take fitness advice from a 60-year-old, right? So you've got to scale and look at the longevity that you have in your business. So yeah, long term, that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to be. But for right now, like putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, even. The aim is to grow the coaching, grow the one-to-one again. Up here, obviously, I'm starting up north, whereas I was down south, so it's going to be sort of starting from scratch, and just working on being happy, working on keep doing the same thing that I'm doing, just working on being the best version of myself.
Yeah, I love it. What gym do you want to go to? Is there a few that you want to be based out of, or? you're not too bothered at the moment?
Virgin Active in Kirkstall, Leeds Kirkstall is where I'm going to be going.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going to be good.
Where are you based now?
In Kirkstall, so in Leeds. So
Okay.
it's just like 10 minutes out of the city centre.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's super, super close. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment, and I'm loving it up here, to be honest. It's like Leeds is a great city because it's got the close proximity of the city, but within 10 minutes you're in like the middle of nowhere and there's green everywhere. So
you know what? That's why I love the north. I genuinely like I like London whilst I was there, but I was like, it's too much. It's intense. And then I went up to like Manchester, Liverpool area. I was like, it's fucking sick up here. There's less people. You still get that. I felt like it was more like a towny vibe because there wasn't like big, like there wasn't Oxford Street and things like that. It was just like a little town centre. And you're like,
there's not the same tourism.
No, that's it. And it was just, it was lovely. I think if I moved back, I'd straight away go, I think like Liverpool or somewhere like that. It was just...
Liverpool is more green than Manchester. I struggle with Manchester because it takes a little bit longer to get into the greenness.
Okay, yeah.
But Leeds and Liverpool, I feel like are pretty green, which is nice.
Okay, done. That's it. 3 years, I'll come back. To be fair, as soon as you start life coaching, I'll be like, oh,
remember me.
Yeah, that's it. Guilty pleasures. It's fine. Cool. Kind of just to wrap up, kind of give anyone that listens, watch, like one take home point. What's the one thing that someone can implement today to take them 1% further forward tomorrow, sort of thing?
Start your day being proactive instead of reactive. That would be the take home from this. Start your day learning that you are the center of your own universe, and putting yourself first, filling your own cup up first, seeing where your head is at from the day is going to put you in a much stronger, powerful, more resilient mode than answering to your boss, to social media, to the news before that. That would be my take home.
Yeah, cool. Please do that, because I'm literally going to do that as well.
I'm glad. Let me know how you get on.
I do. I'm going to go to literally the little bookshop now, buy a separate diary and just start my mornings like that. But honestly, like, you know, when people are like, this is like good salesman, right? You know, when people write a post and they're like, that connects with me. How do they know that? I'm like, yeah, you've just definitely done that. So it's it. I've already bought into you already. So I'm like, as soon as you're qualified, I'll sign up. So you're set.
Thanks.
But no, it was absolutely lovely to catch up with you and talk to you. And yeah, it was, yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Lovely. Cool. I will love you and leave you. And I'll definitely have to pick your brain in the future for sure.
For sure. Speak soon. Bye.